You are in for a wild ride today. Imagine pulling up to the pump, and the price of gas just jumped 6 baht a liter literally overnight.
Yeah, not like a gradual creep, but an instant massive spike right after a major election.
Right. And that is exactly what just hit Thailand following the 2026 elections. So, okay, let's unpack this because the sources we're looking at today are incredibly heated.
They really are.
We're trying to figure out if this is just unavoidable spillover from global geopolitics or like a highly coordinated domestic cash grab. It's like waking up and finding your daily commute suddenly subjected to extreme, inescapable surge pricing without warning.
It's a total systemic shock. I mean, you can see why the public is deeply suspicious.
Yeah.
When a vital resource jumps that drastically without any warning, the immediate reaction is to look for who is profiting.
Oh, for sure. And the opposition, specifically the Kratishan Party and a vocal ex-senator, are basically accusing political insiders of engineering this to recoup the massive war chests they just spent on the 2026 elections.
Right, they're pointing to specific gas stations closing their pumps right before the midnight hike just to pocket that 6 bet difference the next morning.
Which is wild.
And they've actually mapped out 5 distinct leak points in the supply chain where they claim this profiteering is happening, including middleman hoarding.
Wait, middleman hoarding? Like, how does that even work?
Well, they're accusing middlemen of holding existing fuel in storage tanks, just waiting for the price to peak.
Oh, wow. No wonder there's a 91% public dissatisfaction rate in the sources. I mean, people are literally talking about dragging energy capitalists from their homes.
The rhetoric is definitely fiery. One source even warned this could trigger a Nepal model uprising.
Okay, wait, what does that actually mean here? Are we talking actual economic desperation, or is that just, political hyperbole?
Well, in Nepal back in 2006, drastic fuel price hikes were the direct spark that escalated protests into a movement that actually overthrew the monarchy.
That's intense.
Yeah, the desperation here in Thailand is real, but we do have to look at the government's counter-argument.
Right, led by PM Newton and the Energy Ministry. They're pointing squarely at the U.S.-Iran war disrupting the Strait of Hormuz.
Exactly. And they have a structural point. They argue they have to let market mechanisms dictate the price because Thailand uses a national oil fund to subsidize fuel costs.
Okay.
If global crude spikes and they don't raise domestic prices, I mean, that fund just goes bankrupt instantly.
Yeah.
Plus, if Thai oil is artificially cheaper than neighboring countries, smugglers will just drive across the border and drain the supply.
Okay, but what about the pumps actually running dry? Because the government claims the national 100-day oil reserve is perfectly intact, and they blame the shortage on panic buying.
Right. They said people suddenly pumped 20 million liters a day.
I have to push back on that, though. How do you physically pump an extra 20 million liters overnight? Are people, like, filling up bathtubs?
I know, it sounds absurd. But in a panicked logistics network, it doesn't take bathtubs. It just takes every commercial trucking fleet and millions of regular drivers deciding to top off their tanks on the exact same afternoon. It just overloads the trucks.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But what's fascinating here is the incredibly delicate balancing act the government is attempting. Even amidst this domestic scarcity, they are still deliberately exporting 5 million liters to neighboring countries.
Wait, why would they do that when their own citizens can't get gas?
Because Thailand actually relies on those specific neighbors for its electricity grid. It's a calculated energy trade-off to keep the lights on.
Okay, but here is a glaring contradiction raised by an analyst in our sources. If the government actually has a 100-day reserve sitting there, why not use the Price of Goods Act?
Yeah.
Like, it's designed to prevent price gouging during crises. Why not use it to freeze prices for just 15 days to let the global panic settle?
Because deploying that act against the state-owned energy sector is politically radioactive. And time is running out. By April 1st, freight transport costs are slated to jump 27 to 30%.
Which translates directly to immediate inflation on literally every single item on a store shelf.
Exactly. And that looming domino effect is why we're seeing radical solutions proposed in the sources.
Like what?
Well, the biggest one is opening up free imports directly from countries like Russia or Iran. The idea is to completely bypass local monopolies and force the state-owned PTT to compete.
That is an insane escalation. That's like bypassing your town's only expensive grocery store by directly chartering a farm truck. But would a government ever actually risk alienating its own powerful energy sector to do that?
It's the ultimate geopolitical tightrope.
Yeah.
And, just to be completely clear to you listening, we are not endorsing the government's defense of global market forces, nor are we validating the opposition's accusations of profiteering.
Right, we are simply mapping out the conflicting realities presented in these sources. Because energy policy isn't just abstract politics. It instantly dictates the cost of everything you buy.
Which brings us to a crucial final thought. If a nation actually did decide to shatter global trade norms and import sanctioned oil just to appease a furious, paralyzed public morale,
What kind of unpredictable geopolitical storm would that trigger next? Lots to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.